which are somehow identified as jobs of the past. But we might pause to consider just how hard-headed these presumptions are, and whether they don't, on the contrary, issue from a peculiar sort of idealism, one that insistently steers young people toward the most ghostly kinds of work. Around 1985, articles began to appear in education journals with such titles as "The Soaring Technology Revolution" and "Preparing Kids for High-Tech and the Global Future." Of course, there is nothing new about American futurism. What is new is the wedding of futurism to what might be called virtualism, a vision of the future in which we somehow take leave of material reality and glide about in a pure information economy. New, and yet not so new. For 50 years now, we've been assured that we are headed for a post-industrial society. While manufacturing jobs have certainly left our shores to a disturbing degree, the manual trades have not. If you need a deck built or your car fixed, the Chinese are of no help because they are in China. And in fact, there are chronic labor shortages in both construction and auto repair. Yet the trades and manufacturing have long been lumped together in the mind of the pundit class as blue collar, and their requiem is intoned. More recently, this consensus has begun to show signs of cracking. In 2006, the Wall Street Journal wondered whether skilled manual labor is becoming one of the few sure paths to a good living. This book is concerned less with economics than it is with the experience of making things and fixing things. I also want to consider what is at stake when such experiences recede from our common life. How does this affect the prospects for full human flourishing? Does the use of tools answer to some permanent requirement of our nature? Arguing for a renewed cultivation of manual competence puts me at odds with certain nostrums surrounding work and consumption. So this book is in part a cultural polemic. I mean to clarify the origins of and thereby interrogate those assumptions that lull us into accepting as inevitable or even desirable our increasing manual disengagement. I will be making frequent reference to my own work experience, most recently as a motorcycle mechanic. Seeing a motorcycle about to leave my shop under its own power, several days after arriving in the back of a pickup truck, I suddenly don't feel tired, even though I've been standing on a concrete floor all day. Through the portal of his helmet, I think I can make out the edges of a grin on the face of a guy who hasn't ridden his bike in a while. I give him a wave. With one of his hands on the throttle and the other on the clutch, I know he can't wave back. But I can hear his salute in the exuberant blah, blum, blum of a crisp throttle, gratuitously revved. That sound pleases me, as I know it does him. It's a ventriloquist conversation in one mechanical voice, and the gist of it is, yeah. The wad of cash in my pants feels different than the checks I cashed at my previous job. Following a doctorate in political philosophy at the University of Chicago, I took a job as executive director of a Washington think tank. I was always tired, and honestly could not see the rationale for my being paid at all. What tangible goods or useful services was I providing to anyone? The sense of uselessness was dispiriting. The pay was good, but it truly felt like compensation. And after 5 months, I quit to open the bike shop. It may be that I am just not well suited to office work, but in this respect, I doubt there is anything unusual about me. I offer my own story here not because I think it is extraordinary, but rather because I suspect it is fairly common. I want to do justice to intuitions that many people have, but which enjoy little public credit. This book grows out of an attempt to understand the greater sense of agency and competence I have always felt doing manual work, compared to other jobs that were officially recognized as knowledge work. Perhaps most surprisingly, I often find manual work more engaging intellectually. This book is an attempt to understand why this should be so. My examples are drawn mostly from the mechanical repair and